Hello and welcome to my end of the year book tag video. It's inspired by Ariel Bissett. She created this tag and I thought it's an interesting tag to do, so I did it last year and I'm going to do it again this year. I have some questions here that I'm going to ask myself so that we can get the answers, so that you can have the answers. So the first question on this list is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? And yes, there is. It's the one I'm currently reading. It's the Psychopath test by Ronson. I started reading this month, which doesn't say much because I'm halfway through the month, or actually more than halfway through the month at this point. But yes, so this is the book I have started reading and still need to finish. Then the question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? If you don't know who Ariel Bissett is, she's a Canadian booktuber, so obviously when she's doing her end of the year tag, it's autumn in Canada. Here it is very much spring. It is almost actually summer. I think we kind of just skipped over spring this year. We just went straight into summer. Sorry, my eyes are tearing. I don't know why. They're just apparently sensitive now that I'm trying to film a video. So I'm going to flip this thing on its head and say, do you have a spring-themed book to transition into the end of the year? I don't know if this book that I'm thinking of is very spring-themed. I don't know if it even has anything to do with spring, but Sweetbitter by Stefanie Danler, to me, seems like a spring-themed book. I don't know whether it's spring-themed at all. Oh, actually it says Tess becomes helplessly drawn into a dark, alluring love triangle. So maybe this is not a spring-themed book, but in my mind, the word Sweetbitter seems springy. Maybe because that's what flowers smell like in spring, and maybe because I have the connotation of it being bittersweet, but just the other way around. So anyway, this is my spring-themed book that turned out to not be spring-themed at all, but there we go nonetheless. I have something in my eye and that's why it's tearing up, but I'm not going to stop and restart this video, so you're just going to have to deal with teary-eyed me today. I promise I'm okay. My eyes just hate me. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? No. I'm very unaware of all the new releases happening. I don't really check new releases or what's being released throughout the year. I just see what's in the bookshop when I get there and what looks interesting to me. If there is, sometimes, you know, Goodreads sends out these newsletters telling you what is being published in a month, and sometimes I read them, and then sometimes there are books on there that look interesting to me, but then I kind of forget about them until I go through my want-to-read list on Goodreads again, or I see them in a bookshop by chance. So I don't really keep up to date with new releases and things. Then, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? So I'm gonna not count the Psychopath test because I'm already busy reading it. So I've got Sweetbitter, which I definitely want to read before the end of the year. Then I really would like to read Quiet by Cain. You can't see anything on this cover because it is entirely white, but I want to read Quiet by Cain as well. And then I've got 2 here that I'm debating between. One of them is very big and the other one is not so very big. So the first one is The Past in Hiding by Roseman, and the second one is Plagues and People by William H. McNeill. And I'll see which one I get around to. I would like to ideally read both of them this year, but so my 3 books have turned into 4 books that I'd like to read this year. So these are my 4 books that I'd like to read this year. I've changed the question again. I just can't help it. But yes, these are the 4 books I would like to eventually get to this year, hopefully. And then the last question, I think. Oh no. The second last question. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? On this pile, to be honest, not really. unless Sweetbitter does a really fantastic thing and shocks me and becomes my favorite thing, I don't think any of these books on this pile will become my favorite book. I think all of them will be very good, but in comparison to the other books that I've already read this year that I've really loved, and like my favorite book that I have read this year, or favorite books, plural, because I can't just pick one, I don't think these are going to be able to live up to those. So, sorry, little book stack, but I don't think it's your time this year. Then, the last question on this list is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? And the answer to that question is also no. I haven't started making reading plans for next year. My only reading plan for next year, and it's not really a plan, is just that I would like to read more, because I have so many unread books on my bookshelf. If you haven't seen my previous video, I did a haul of every book on my bookshelf that I haven't read yet, and there are a lot of them, and in doing that video and going through my bookshelf again, I've seen how many books I'm actually really excited to read, but I kind of forget about them because they're on my bookshelf and I look at them every day, but I don't see them. So I just want to read more books next year. Maybe I should stop watching so many movies and spending so much time watching YouTube videos and read more, because that would probably solve my problem. So that was my end of the year book tag. Let me know. I will leave the questions in the top comment below. If you would like to do that, I would love for you to answer them and tell me what your answer to these questions would be in the comment section below. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel if you want to watch me again in the future and see me do more bookish things and release more bookish content. And other than that, I hope you have a really lovely rest of your day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!